2015. That is the last time that Chelsea got their hands on the League Cup, running out 2-0 winners at Wembley over Spurs, who ironically were guided to the final by their manager, Mauricio Pochettino. And although we've come close on a couple of occasions, drawing the match after 120 minutes of football against Man City and Liverpool respectively, Chelsea have not lifted the League Cup since that day in 2015. But with the omission of Champions League football and a less congested fixture schedule this year, surely this is the season that we have a real chance of righting that wrong and getting our hands on that trophy once again. Here to discuss the match on Wednesday night against AFC Wimbledon and all things League Cup with me is my good friend Josh Aveste. We're very lucky to be joined by Josh, and I want you to show your appreciation for Josh coming in by clicking the link in the description to this video, which will take you over to Josh's channel. He is banging out content all the time on there of a very, very high level, if I do say so myself. Josh, looking forward to this match on Wednesday night?
Yeah, you're too kind, mate. Yeah, I'm very excited to do it. You know, the League Cup, the Carling Cup, the Carabao Cup, the Coca-Cola Cup, the Milk Cup.
What is it for you?
I feel like it's the Carling Cup.
It's the Carling Cup. It is the Carling Cup.
I feel like it is, yeah. It's always been like that. I remember just the branding of that. It all just worked. And I feel in the last 10 years or so, it hasn't had the same excitement for me, the League Cup. Like, I feel like because we've been challenging for European titles, because we've been challenging the league, even the FA Cup for me means something. It means quite a lot, actually, to me, the FA Cup. There's something about that story of anyone can be up there. I always love, like, a good cup run for, you know, teams that are non-league teams in the FA Cup. There's a story to that. Whereas the League Cup, you know, it's a little bit different. And I've struggled to get up for it, to be honest with you, mate. So I feel this year is very different because we don't have that European competition, as you say. I feel like it's now got more importance.
I'll tell you one thing that's massively different. Can you remember in your lifetime? There will be a time, I assume, but can you remember us entering in the second round?
I can't ever remember that.
Even that awful season we had, the season before we went and won the league, we finished 10th, didn't we? So even then, we wouldn't have entered at the second round stage. This is the first time I can ever remember entering the League Cup in the second round. And although you say about FA Cup underdogs, you know, I remember finals between Man United and Millwall when you know, they were probably League One at the time, something like that. Tim Cahill, do you remember him in the lineup? But even with the League Cup, you know, remember Swansea going and winning it, and they beat, Bristol City in the final, I think it was. Nathan Dyer had an absolute barnstormer of a game. But yeah, it is a competition now, more than ever, that I think as Chelsea fans we're taking pretty seriously, aren't we?
Yeah, I think we're going to. I think this year more than any other year that we've had in the last 10 maybe, we've got to absolutely go for it. And I feel that Poch is going to use this in a slightly different way. Like, in the past, we had a massive squad. We had a lot of young players that were pushing, knocking on the door. And so it was a rotation, wasn't it? And now we've got one goalkeeper, so we're not going to really rotate the goalkeeper. Yes, we've got Petrovic coming in, but is he going to be here in time? Absolutely not. So Sanchez is going to be probably starting. And then, yes, we have a lot of young players, but a lot of the young players that would be this kind of level are either out on loan or, you know, they're just on the periphery of the squad. So when we get onto our team sheet in a second, I feel like it isn't going to be as rotated as what you might expect. And therefore, it's going to feel like very similar to any old Premier League game. So it's going to have a different vibe to it, mate, this season, I think.
In our lifetime, we've won the League Cup in 1998, 2005, 2007, 2015. What one jumps out straight away at you? Because for me, I think we agreed, didn't we? On 3, 1, 2, 3, 2005. Yeah!
What an era that was. Like, that is, Abramovich was in for what? A season? Or a couple of seasons? He was 2004,
he took over 2003, Abramovich. Yeah, started the 2003 season, signed about 500 players.
Yeah.
Jeremy, Joe Cole, a lot, Damien Duff, love that.
What an era.
And that was obviously Mourinho's first season. It was the first bit of silverware Mourinho got his hands on, because obviously the League Cup final, as we know, is played, you know, quite a fair bit before the end of the season. Wasn't at Wembley. Wembley was under construction. It was a game that you were at, wasn't it?
Yeah, I remember having to trudge over to Cardiff. I used to hate that. And I never really understood it. Like, you think English Premier League and you're thinking, why am I going over to Cardiff? And like, fair enough, Cardiff is a very good stadium. But I don't know. Like, I remember other games, like being at Old Trafford or Villa Park. Some of those games that were the semi-finals of the FA Cups and the Carling Cups.
That was a special match. To give it a bit of context for anyone who maybe wasn't around at that time or doesn't know what match we're talking about.
Yeah.
We met Liverpool in the final, and there's always a bit of a rivalry between us and Liverpool. There was a lot of bad blood between us and Liverpool at that time. It was around the time of the ghost goal in the Champions League, Louis Garcia. We met him in the final, and John Arnorisa, who had an absolute pinger of a left foot, he hits one in after what? 10, 11 seconds or so, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was definitely in the first minute. And I used to remember watching John Arnorisa and trying to play a bit like him. I was a left-footed, winger, left-back kind of role. And I used to go, I'd love to be able to ping a ball like John Arnorisa.
I was left-back in the changing rooms.
Me too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that goal was one of those ones where you're going, oh, it's not looking good, is it? Yeah, as you say.
Silence the crowd straight away. And then obviously we came back strong. I think it ended up 3-2 in the end, wasn't it? One of my old favourites. I always have these niche players who are sort of flops, do you know what I mean? But I just always have a little soft spot for them. One of them for me, I don't know why, was Batman. Matthias Kesman.
Yeah.
Came along with I Am Robin, hence Batman and Robin. And he was maybe the one over at PSV out of the two of them. I think it was three, including Peter Cech as well, wasn't there? He was one of the ones that had lit up the world a little bit more in the Eredivisie and on that sort of Dutch stage and whatnot. He was a prolific goal scorer at PSV. He was a good goal scorer everywhere he went, but he never really done it. And he got a sort of a messy scramble goal in that final, didn't he?
That was the third goal.
Yeah.
I had Kesman on the back of my shirt in the kit.
I had Kesman.
Did you?
Yeah, I had Kesman. Yeah.
We are too similar.
I had Kesman. I never knew that.
What shirt was it? Was it the blue?
It's a black black with the silver away
I had
kit.
Exactly the same shirt.
Yeah.
What a shirt.
He was the number 9. He was the number 9 that
He was the
season
number
as well,
9.
wasn't he?
And that shirt was
Unreal
just
kit.
Class.
Unreal.
I'm actually a bit gutted I don't still have that.
Yeah. I used to around that time when we had the Fly Emirates, you know the home kit, the long sleeve, because I used to try and channel my sort of Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, like a homeless man's Hasselbank. I was, but yeah, that was a match. First one that springs to mind. Obviously, look, it's not too long ago we played in the League Cup final against Liverpool, and it's weird because, as much as once you're in a final you want to win it, I didn't really hold any feeling towards that. Didn't really care. And it goes to show how quickly things do move in football and how quickly things move in the world of a Chelsea fan, because to win the League Cup or the FA Cup this season, it would mean the world to me.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I would totally. And just going back to 2005, I was the most nervous I've been for a football match in years. And I remember getting to that ground and just thinking, if we don't win this, it's going to be a calamity. And so to get that feeling back, or even somewhat of that feeling this season in the League Cup, will be immense. And I feel obviously it's the second round, so you don't have that sort of the same nervousness as you would do in a quarter-final, semi-final, final. But I am really excited about it, so I'm looking forward to being there.
I am going to just be honest to you. I don't know much about AFC Wimbledon. It's almost a bit of a derby, really. Pretty close in terms of how close the two teams are. I don't know much about AFC Wimbledon. No. If I'm honest,
I don't. Again, I'm not going to profess to say that I watch them week in, week out. They're a local club to where I live. I actually respect them quite a lot because of the turmoil that they've had to go through as a side. Obviously, again, for context for anyone that doesn't know, they had a club buyout that the chairman then wanted to move them to Milton Keynes, which he ended up being successful in doing. Milton Keynes was an area which was a new town. People didn't really have any affinity to the area, especially when you're coming from southwest London and moving out to all the way up the M1 to go and watch that. And then obviously they had to create this sort of club out of nothing. I watched a documentary about it. It's very interesting. They literally had their first session in a park, and that was literally going, who wants to play for this new team? And I've always got a soft spot for these teams that are new teams that come from nothing. I'm a big fan of #United, for example. I'm a big fan of Wimbledon as well. And also Dorking are another team that I follow. They're a team that, again, another big YouTube team. And that's what these clubs have got to do now. They've got to build a following online, because you fall in love with the story. Like, I fall in love with the #United story because they're coming up from the ground up. Dorking have done the same, and Wimbledon have had to do the same. And again, because they're an existing team, because they had this history and legacy, the crazy bunch in the Premier League, and they had all of these characters, there's an affinity there. And so I would say I've got a small soft spot for them. Does that mean, mate, that I want them to win on Wednesday? Absolutely not. But it will be a great game. And again, as you say, bit of a local rivalry.
We're going to go through our teams that we'd pick. I'm going to pick a team, you're going to pick a team. One thing I would say, and this sort of comes into my thinking, is in years gone by, a lot of the youth players would be given a go. These would be the sort of match you might see Billy Gilmore, Josh McEachran, you might Gail Kakuta even probably. But yeah, in years gone by, these would be the sort of games that you'd, start to transition in some of the younger players or players that hadn't had that many minutes and whatever. But being that I do believe that we need to take this cup seriously, I think that I would field a much stronger lineup for this before I name my lineup than maybe a lot of people might think. So I'll go through and I'll start off with my lineup. And I do believe that we're going to see a lot of changes as the match goes on and whatnot. But I would stick with a lot in my lineup. I would go to a back four just to try it out because I believe that, look, I don't want to disregard Wimbledon or disrespect Wimbledon even, but I do think that this is a match that we can try stuff out, and it wouldn't be trying it out too much because we've seen it in pre-season. I'm not actually going to go with a 4-2-3-1. I'm going to go with a lineup that you were in favour of, or a formation I should say, in the 4-3-3. So I'm going to stick with Sanchez in goal. The backline's going to be more or less the same. However, what I would do in that backline is I would not drop Thiago Silva, I'd rest Thiago Silva. Now, if I didn't think that Trevor Chalobah is nailed on going, I would start Trevor Chalobah in this match, but I do think he's going, so I will go Melo Gusto, I'll go Disasi and Colwell, and I'll go Chilwell. Now, people might say to me, you played on Friday night, and why are you... We're not going to have Champions League football this year. Straight away, you can knock off a guaranteed 10-odd matches of this season. And I think that that's going to benefit us massively. And I think that against a team like AFC Wimbledon, where a lot of these players could potentially come off maybe 10 to 15 minutes earlier than substitutes would normally be made, they're all right. They're going to be all right here. So that's my backline.
Well, let me just ask you, right? We got 3 left-backs at the club, and you're continuing to play Chilwell.
I am, because I think you might see rotation as the match goes on. I think that one of those left backs you're referring to, you'll see, is actually in my team as we go up through the pitch. Ooh. A little spoiler for you here. I'm not starting Cucurella right wing. Look, it's sometimes, I'm like Jose Mourinho, it's better for me to not talk, yeah? Don't want to talk about Cucurella. Don't want to be horrible. On midfield 3, it might raise a couple of eyebrows. I'd actually rest Conor Gallagher because I see him probably playing against Nottingham Forest. I'd like to see Romeo Lavia if he is fit and available given minutes. If not Romeo Lavia, I would like to see Ugo Chukwu given minutes. And I think there's a high likelihood we will. But for me, I will go midfield 3. Let's try them out together. Let's see how they get on. Let's go Caicedo at the base, with Romeo Lavia one side of him and the main man Enzo Fernandez the other side of him. My forward line is where you're going to see a bit of change. And you know what? People will maybe think I'm mad because of the performances, and it's because of the performance and the importance I think he holds to us going and thumping Nottingham Forest at the Bridge next Saturday. I'm going to rest Raheem Sterling. I'm going to bring Mudryk in and hopefully give him an opportunity to express himself from the first minute, hopefully get on that score sheet and start to provide something that can give Mauricio Pochettino a bit more of a problem when it comes to should he be selected or not. I think this could be a confidence-building game for Mykhailo Mudryk. Up top, I'm going to stick with Nicholas Jackson. I am. I think the only alternative at the minute is Mason Burstow because I don't actually think Bro has ready yet to play. Is he not? No.
I don't think he'll be ready for Wednesday either.
No. So I'll stick with Nicholas Jackson. But again, if we're 2-3 up at half time, which is all every chance that we could be, then, maybe we look at Mason Burstow coming in or whatnot. And then on the right wing, here's the other one I'm going to go with. I am going to go against a lot of you lot, which I'm sure a lot of you would like to see Madueke in there. I do think that we need to give Ian Maatsen sustained minutes, not a cameo appearance at the end of matches like we saw on Friday night or like we saw against Liverpool. Ian Maatsen needs minutes. He really does. And given the opportunity for anyone who hasn't already seen him, once you see him given minutes and the opportunity to express himself on this sort of platform, you will realise that he is a contender for a starting berth in that team, in my opinion. What about yourself? Just before we go on to your team, what do you think of that? Too strong or?
I really like that team, and I think there isn't really such a thing as too strong in the way that we're playing at the moment. Like, we've got a relatively small squad, and it's hampered by 9 injuries, and so you've not really got a load of choice actually. I'm interested to see what you think of mine, but I think yours is probably more realistic in terms of what we're going to see versus mine.
Okay.
So I think if we're doing this game now where we're trying to predict, and I always find this quite fun actually, and maybe we'll make this a little series or something where we're trying to predict the exact lineup. We'll give ourselves a little score to see how we get on. Because I don't know what you think about this, but while I think Poch has got his same setup that he is going to play more weeks than not, I actually think he does interesting little things that I'm very surprised with in terms of the tactical setup. And I think with more players coming in, there may be more tinkering that goes on. Maybe he'll become the new Tinker Man.
So for this game against AFC Wimbledon, let's start off. What formation are you going, Josh?
I'm going 4-2-3-1 because, I respect your formation. Joey is the one saying it's got to be 4-2-3-1, and I've said over and over again that it's got to be 4-3-3.
And now I've gone 4-3-3 and you've gone 4-2-3-1.
Well, I'm honouring your system, mate. No, I think against a team like this, I think having one more attacker in there or one more attacking-minded player is actually the good way to go, and it also allows me to play a few players that I think need to get a couple of minutes. So strap yourself in, right? You ready for this?
Let's go.
Right, goalkeeper, it's obvious. I think the only real option we got is Sanchez. Then I'm going to go for Malo Gusto at right back. I think he's the only real option. You could see Disasi there, but I actually think he may use this game to rest Disasi. So Disasi isn't in my team. I've got Humphreys.
Good shout.
At the centre-back role.
Looks good in pre-season.
He looks very good in pre-season. There are a lot of people, and I'm a big follower of people like Chelsea Youth on Twitter and people like that are talking about the academy over and over again. And they're big exponents of Humphreys. He had a very good loan last year, played very well abroad as well. So I think, look, let's chuck him in. Let's see how well he does. He looked very composed, as you say, in pre-season. And alongside him, I'm going to put someone that is maybe his idol, maybe someone that he looks for inspiration, Levi Colwill. I think let's put him as a centre-back, and I think he, alongside Humphreys, actually complement each other very well.
For the first time, probably becomes the more authoritative figure in that back line.
Yeah. And I think he's going to end up taking that role anyway. Thiago Silva has got, one more season left, and then Colwill will have to step up.
You've mentioned the fact we've got 3 left-backs at the club at the minute. Unfortunately, we did have 4, but Lewis Hall's now gone. Who are you starting at left-back?
So you're laughing about Cucurella, and I'm slapping him straight in. There's no other games that Cucurella is going to play for Chelsea, and there are 2 points and the 2 reasons why I would start him. First reason, if you do want to sell him, he needs to play. You need to show that he's not as awful as people say, and he actually needs game time and to be able to prove that he's worth 40, 50 million, which we're going to have to try and sell him for if we don't believe that he's good enough quality. The second thing is, there's no reason to say that Chilwell won't get injured this season. And if Chilwell gets injured, obviously, Maatsen is the next one that comes in line. But Maatsen could end up playing further forwards. There's a lot of stuff that could happen. So I would just play him here for the reasons that I just said, and I think he'll end up starting.
Your 2 in the midfield pivot?
So I was really impressed with Cucurella when he came on for his cameo against Luton. I was surprised with how composed he looked, how good he was on the ball, just how relaxed he seemed. It didn't seem to faze him at all playing at Stamford Bridge. And I just thought he looks strong, he looks big, he looks tall. Maybe he's going to be one to push people like Lavia. He looked good enough. And with Santos now going out on loan, I think Poch has obviously, put his stake in the ground and said, I reckon this guy's better than him, and I actually want him in the squad. So I reckon he's actually going to play more often than we think. So he would be the first one in there. And then alongside him, I'd put more engine, because again, we've only got 4 at the back. I'd go Caicedo again. I think Caicedo is one of those players, he needs match fitness, he needs, game time. So he's a very fit guy. So let's just whack him in and play those 2 together. And I think they're really solid. 3 along the front. On the right-hand side, he was on the bench yesterday. He didn't come on. New signing, Moreira. I think Mudryk isn't going to be fit for this game. Seems like he's injured. They're saying he's going to be out for a week. So I think it might just come a little bit too early for him. So I think try this guy out. He looks like he's good. He's a young player. Let's see how good he actually is in a top flight, in a professional level game, because he's been playing with the under-21s recently. Apparently in the last under-21s game, he was the man of the match. He was absolutely brilliant. So let's give him a go. Let's see how he does.
Yeah.
Next to him in a cam role is Ian Matson.
Nice, yeah. A few
Random
people
one.
have suggested that one.
But during pre-season, he had a really good link-up with Jackson, and I think he could be very, very good there. And then I'm putting Noni on the left. I want to see how well he does cutting inside from the left-hand side. I want to see him linking up. I want to see if he's got that mercurial ability to beat players, which we saw last season, in the same way against Sterling. So I'm putting him there. And then up front, I'm going to put Jackson. I thought he played so well the other day, and we don't really have another centre-forward option. I can't see Burstow coming in from the start, but what I can see is that Jackson starts. We go 1, maybe 2 up in the ideal scenario by half-time. Jackson comes off, Burstow comes on, and then you just give them 45 minutes each.
So way more heavily changed 11 than I picked. I think that maybe leaves me thinking that you think that this match is a very straightforward match to chuck that amount of youth in there. But look, they'll be bang up for it. As I say, it is a little bit of a derby, just one that hardly ever would get played or come to fruition. Let's have a score prediction. I'll start. I'm going to go for it now. We've put 3 past Luton. I think a big performance, especially if we pick a stronger 11 as I've named. And I'm hoping for a 5-0 job here.
Oh, 5-0, really?
Yeah.
Demolition.
Yeah.
With your team, I could see that because it's very, very strong. So it does depend on the team sheet. I'm not as confident as you. Maybe not as bullish. I'm still bullish. I'm going to go 4-1. I think, and how many times have we seen this? I remember there was the Bradford game, wasn't there, where we conceded a couple. There's been games where we've played lower league opposition and still conceded. I'm not going to go as ridiculous as that. I'm going to call it 4-1.
People, we want to know your predictions. We want to know what players you would chuck in that lineup. Would you go as strong as I potentially went, or would you start to bed some of these younger players into that lineup? Let's have your score predictions and your lineups in the comments. And once again, please do me a massive favour. Head over to Josh's channel. The link is in the description to this video. Drop him a subscribe. If you're not already, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. I'm more or less banging out a video every single day for you lot at the moment. So be here for when those videos drop. Hit the subscribe, hit the bell. I'll see you all in the next one.